Hello there, everyone. I am Dr. Tharp, board certified internal medicine physician. And as I say every night when I do this, I am on a mission. I'm on a mission to spread the word that we can combat this epidemic of type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes and insulin resistance that's out there. So I am here tonight for those women who are struggling with blood sugar issues. You're worried about not being able to get your blood sugars down. You're worried about having to start medications or, having to add more medications. You're worried about potential complications. You've watched family members suffer with diabetes. And so, you are now worried, is that going to be the future you face? And I can tell you day in and day out, I hear horror stories about what people go through with type 2 diabetes, with pre-diabetes. And so that is what inspired me to do this, okay? To start the Reverse Her Challenge, to start empowering women to turn the numbers back on diabetes. And not just as a doctor, but I am here on a mission because I too saw myself going down that path. I was 30 pounds overweight. I was staring down my first blood pressure pill. My blood sugars were up. My cholesterol was up. And as a doctor, I realized very quickly that my ending wasn't going to be a good one unless I took action. And so I took action. And tonight I am going to tell you about the steps that I took, the steps that I encourage all of the women who I coach to take. And that is how we get results. So I'm here tonight to encourage you, to empower you. And I hope that you walk away from this live tonight, with some tips that you can implement so that you can start to see changes in your blood sugars and your overall health. So one of the big things I always say is, nutrition is number one. But there's so many other things that go into actually reversing type 2 diabetes. And that's why it can be difficult for many people to grasp it fully, because it's a system in so many ways. But I like to focus on nutrition because if you can make significant changes to your diet, then you will see differences in your blood sugar. So that's why I like to spend some time discussing nutrition. But again, it is really a system. There's other things that go into it. I utilize nutrition, detox, body recomposition. Of course, mentorship is important because mentorship offers that accountability as well. And so and so ultimately with those four things we achieve hormonal balance. So we also achieve hormonal balances by discussing how optimizing habits, so sleep is also a part of the system, and hydration is an important part of the system. So tonight we're going to talk about nutrition, but just remember there's a whole system that you have to get into sync. Remember, your sleep is important. Remember, hydration is important. Now, what inspired me to write the nutrition guide is because what I realized from so many, if not all of the people who come to me, actually, I would say 99.9% of the women I work with, their first concern was they did not know what to eat. And the truth is, a lot of them already made a lot of the right changes, but they weren't seeing any differences with their blood sugars. And so that is why it is so important to have the right information, right? And not just, generic information that everybody's using, but information that is very much focused on someone with type 2 diabetes, with blood sugar issues. And that is very focused on you as an individual, right? It has to be a personalized plan as well. And so those were the missing pieces that they had, right? They were listening to different health shows, health creators, but health influencers. But those health influencers weren't very focused, right? The information that they were getting wasn't very focused on diabetes. So the first thing I want you to remember tonight, if you take anything away from this presentation tonight, the first thing I want you to take away is that what might be healthy for the average person is not healthy for someone who is battling type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes. Okay, so that is the first thing. Now, that's what inspired me to write this nutrition guide, because I wanted to write a guide that was very much focused on the struggles that I see among the people I work with. And quite frankly, I wish I had a guide like this when I started my journey. Okay, so let us start off with nutrition. And I like to talk about what your plate should look like, because that helps create a simplified a picture, so that you will be able to, again, lay your plate out, mirror the plate I'm going to describe. So, nutrition, if you can make significant changes to your nutrition, you will see changes. So, there are there are four areas that you really want to be focused on when it comes to balancing your blood sugars. The first is protein, carbohydrates, fats, and then we can't forget fiber. Okay. And if we're going to talk about a fifth one, let's talk about water as well. Now, let's focus on the four main things, and that is protein. Most of the people I work with, when they come to me, they're not getting enough protein. You should be getting at least 30 grams of protein per meal per day. And you should be eating at least 3 meals for the day. Okay. So for those of you who are skipping breakfast, for those of you who are only eating 1 meal a day, that is a huge problem. And to be honest, that is one of the bigger reasons why you're experiencing high blood sugars. So a lot of the women I work with, they're eating 1 meal a day. They're so busy, or they're fasting, and they don't see a change in their blood sugars, or they notice their blood sugars are getting worse with time. And it's really baffling to them. Okay. And I can understand why that's baffling, right? You're eating 1 meal a day, your blood sugars don't budge, but that's super frustrating as well. I can tell you that that's where you're going wrong, because your body adjusts to having just 1 meal a day, and your metabolism starts to shut down, right? Your body adjusts so that it can sustain the most vital functions on just those meals. And so your body shuts down dramatically. It stops using glucose, right? And when you stop using, your muscles stop using glucose, then that is when you get the spikes in your blood sugar. The other problem that comes up is that you start to lose muscle as well, okay? Because you're not eating enough, you're not feeding your muscles, you're not eating enough protein. And that also makes the perfect storm for blood sugar issues. So, if you're going to make any changes this week, one of the changes I'd love for you to make is start eating 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Fast throughout the night, but make sure you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And make sure you have 30 grams of protein on your plate. So, what does 30 grams of protein look like? 30 grams of protein, it could be a chicken thigh, for example. That would amount to about 30 grams of protein. A small chicken breast might amount to about 30 grams of protein. About 5 ounces of salmon would amount to 30 grams of protein. So 30 grams of protein, that will take up about a quarter of your plate. Okay. So now we're talking about what your plate should look like. 3 plates, you should be having at least 3 plates. For some of you, it might even be 4 plates, believe it or not. So you should be eating throughout the day. You're eating your 3 to 4 meals for the day, and on that plate should be at least 30 grams of protein. Now, the next is carbohydrates. And so one misconception that I see very often is we have to cut out carbs altogether. And that is not true. You don't have to eliminate carbs, but we have to be cognizant of how much we're eating and what kind of carbs we're eating. So ideally, remember, vegetables are carbs. They have carbs in there, but they're lower carbs. So you should be aiming for half of your plate to be leafy green vegetables. Okay, so think about things like kale, think about spinach, think about cabbage. Think about vegetables that are high in water content, high in fiber, and then lower in carbohydrates. So you want half of your plate to be that. And you want on the side, on the other quarter of the plate, maybe a complex carbohydrate. Complex carbohydrate is, think about root vegetables. So we're now thinking about sweet potato, for example, which is one of my personal favorites. Sweet potato, high in minerals, high in vitamins, high in fiber. So you want another quarter to be that. And then let's not forget fats. Okay, fats are important, but here's the key: healthy fats. So only select fats should be in each of your meals. Again, it depends on your individual needs, but you don't want to overdo healthy fats as well. But healthy fats are your olive oil, your avocado oil. There is healthy fats in salmon, so fatty fish like salmon and sardines. So you want to go for fats like that, fats in nuts and seeds as well. Again, be careful about how much your body needs fat, but you have to be very much aware of how much you're taking into your body, how much your body needs to sustain. Now, misconceptions. Some misconceptions that I like to cover is, you do not, if you are a diabetic or a pre-diabetic, if you were just told that you have pre-diabetes and you have 3 months to fix your blood sugars, don't become a vegetarian just because you think that's gonna fix your blood sugars. Okay, don't become a vegetarian, don't cut out fat, don't go to a completely low fat diet. Those are some of the mistakes that actually distract from actually improving your blood sugars, and it actually makes your metabolism worse. Okay, because what happens is when you become a vegetarian, you you don't get enough protein. Okay, getting enough protein as a vegetarian is challenging as it is. It's possible, but it's a little bit more challenging. So if you weren't a vegetarian to begin with, and your sole goal is to reverse pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, don't go on, I'm going to become a vegetarian, I'm going to cut meat out, because that is not going to fix your blood sugars. It's going to make things worse. The other thing, don't go on low fat diets, go on health, switch from bad fats to healthy fats. And I gave you a list of what the healthy fats are. So again, don't fear fat. It's really about eating carbs, eating protein, eating fats, and don't forget your fiber. It's about eating all of those, but in the right balance. So, essentially, that is what your plate should look like to reverse prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. Now, remember, the amount that you eat is important. You want to make sure that you're eating within your calorie goals, because a lot of people who are trying to reverse prediabetes and type 2 diabetes are also trying to lose weight. So it is important that you eat within your calorie goals. So you have a budget basically, and your budget are your total calories for the day, and then you fit your nutrients into that, which are your proteins, your carbs, your fats, and well, your fiber as well. So you want to make sure that you're within your budget so that you can achieve weight loss as well as control your blood sugars. Now, the results that I see with my clients is when we eat in the right balance, I see instant changes in the blood sugar. And it's actually very satisfying to see. And it's amazing to watch the women actually celebrate. They say, I struggled with this for so long. Some of them are even skeptical because they feel like they've tried everything and they're skeptical that the numbers will actually respond. And when they do, it clicks. We see changes within 2 weeks. We start to see changes in blood sugar. So blood sugar responds very quickly, but it's over time that we want to truly reverse the disease. And reversing the disease is not just about controlling the blood sugars with diet, but now we want to make it a permanent thing. And so it's all about, number one, deciding that changing your diet is going to be lifestyle, but it's also implementing good habits into your day to day. So, of course, we can't forget exercise. And the exercise that I like to stress is strength training. So that is where you want to make sure you're building muscle, you're eating enough protein, and you're building muscle. Remember, muscle is the metabolic engine of your body. Muscle is what burns glucose. And as we age, we lose muscle. It's pretty much an age related process. So that is why when we hit our 40s and our 50s and our 60s, we're eating the same, but then we're told we have pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, and we can't understand why. That is because our body composition is changing, and as a result, so is our metabolism and our ability to process sugar in the blood. So it's really important to move your body in a certain way. So going jogging on the treadmill for an hour and killing yourself with cardio, it's not necessarily the right thing for you for what your goal is. The goal is to permanently reverse prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. So you have to push back on the aging process as well. And what that means is you have to put muscle back on your body, and you have to hold on to the muscle you already have. So another question I get a lot is, well, what about the GLP-1s or Ozempic or Monjaro, those different medications that, help control blood sugars and help with dramatic weight loss. And I can say the problem there is it works. But what happens is that you lose weight so quickly and so dramatically that you lose muscle mass. And so you find that you don't feel very, very much energy. Your metabolism is slower. So, and you get this, what we call the skinny fat look, right? Because you lose weight so dramatically. So it's important that if you're on those medications, that you are, again, you understand your nutrition and what it needs to be. You're getting enough protein into your body, and that you're strength training. It's really important to do those things when you're on GLP-1s. So GLP-1s act very quickly. You get rapid weight loss, but again, in the long run, it might not be as helpful. The other downside with those medications is that the minute you stop it is the minute you regain the weight, because those are appetite suppressants. So you don't learn how to cope with good nutrition. You don't learn how to silence the food noise on your own. The medication is doing it for you. So if you are on it and you stop it, then a lot of, if not all of the people who stop it regain that weight and regain the bad habits and the poor nutrition. So it's really important, if you're going to start those medications, it's still important to understand nutrition thoroughly and to have a good strength training routine implemented. So, that is pretty much, it for tonight. Those are the pointers that I have. If you want that one-on-one coaching, if you want that help to truly get your numbers controlled quickly, if you need that accountability, if you want to understand nutrition, if you want to do it without feeling starved, without going on excessive fasts, then reach out to me. I am here for you. I'm willing and open to guide you through that process. It's called the Reverse Her Challenge. It's a program that's very much focused on you and focused on being a sustainable change, one that will truly reverse your numbers and carry you through from here forevermore. The way you can reach me is by clicking the link in my profile. So if you're on Instagram or Facebook, then you can click the link on the profile, and it will take you to either you can book a call, a one-on-one free call to figure out if we're a right fit, or you can even go ahead and take a look at my free Jumpstart guide. And that guide basically gives you a sample meal plan, so you can design a meal plan based on what you see there, and it gives you a grocery list. Please take the time to do the quizzes so you have some insight into how your metabolism is, what your diet is, where you fall. And depending on your score, that will give you very good insight on what you need to change. So go ahead and access that. That's completely free. Go ahead, access that, get some insight, and it's definitely a good start to changing your diet and to getting things in order so that your blood sugars will improve. So with that, I'm going to close off tonight. Please feel free to leave any comments under the live. I will definitely be able to get back to you with any questions. Leave any ideas for any topics that you want me to cover. Then I'm definitely open to that. So please leave that. Any suggestions for topics or questions that you'd like me to address in any of my lives. And I will definitely do that. All right, guys, have a good night. Have a good weekend. And, I hope that you have some good takeaways that you can implement into your day-to-day life. All right. Have a good night.